Hey everyone, welcome back to the new lecture with ISO 9001-2015 edition. Today's lecture will be around design and development of products and service. This clause is very big and very bad and really too much requirements, but inshallah I'll try to make it easy. This clause refers to design and development of the product for the customer. From the initial idea, since you get the requirements from the customer relating to his product or service required, up to giving him the product, up to the final acceptance of the product from the customer. Once you determine the customer requirement relating to the product, then you will go to the next stage, which is design and development for the product or service. So design and development is a process including different stages. These are the sub-clauses here. First, you should plan. Each process you shall start with planning for this process. So there should be planning before. So this sub-clause 832. Then what are the requirements from the customer relating to his product or service? The inputs, customer requirement, regulatory requirement, and statutory requirements. Then controls. What are the controls required to be done during this process? Review, verification, and validation. Then output, the product, which should be same like the what's required by the customer. After that, during this process also any change should be addressed. So the changes should be addressed, and this subclause 836. The first subclause, which is general. The organization shall establish, implement, and maintain design and development process. After you determine the customer requirement relating to his product or service, you shall design and develop the product which is fit for his requirements. So this process shall be appropriate to ensure the subsequent provision of products and service. So to allow effective product and service provision, you shall make design and development process to get the product which is fit for the customer requirement. First stage of this process is to plan. During planning, you shall determine all phases of this process, and all of these phases shall be defined and shall be controlled by reviewing, verification, and validation. At the end, you need to have a valid product or service which is fit for the customer requirement. So the organization shall determine the stages and controls for design and development process, and they shall consider the following points: the nature, duration, and the complexity of the project. For sure, the planning will be different from project to another project. If you have big project, like if you want to produce airplanes or rockets or something very dangerous, it will be different. The planning will be different than if you want to produce only tissues or pen or something simple. So planning will be different based on the nature, duration, and complexity of the project, and the required process stages, including reviews also, applicable reviews. What are the stages required for this process, and what are the required reviews to ensure that product or service will be provided as required, and at the end, required verification and validation activities. So because of this point, you will have a difference in ISO 9000 2015 edition as a definition between reviews and verification and validation. So what is the difference between review, verification, and validation? You will feel that all of them are close together, but review, you want to have some reviews for each process inside the organization to ensure that you can achieve established objectives from this process. So as defined in ISO 9000-2015 edition, determination of the suitability or effectiveness of an object, this process, to achieve established objectives, to ensure that this activity can achieve established objectives. So you should have some reviews for each process inside the organization to ensure that this process will achieve established objectives from the beginning, to achieve the requirements of the customer. For all activities, not only for design and development process, but for all processes inside the organization, you shall have some applicable reviews to ensure that the work done as per objectives. But verification, you want to verify that you achieve the requirement of the customer or regulatory or statutory requirements at the end. Outputs same as required by the customer, so outputs meet the input requirements. So verification, confirmation through the provision of objective evidence. You have evidence, you have objective evidence to ensure that outputs meet the customer requirement or inputs, that specified requirements have been fulfilled. So in this case, you need to ensure that design and development outputs meet the design and development inputs. And validation, you need to ensure that the final product or service provided to the customer are fit for their intended use or specified application. You want to ensure that this product or service is valid for use. So validation, confirmation through provision of objective evidence that the requirements for a specified intended use or application have been fulfilled. After the product produced or service provided to the customer, you need to ensure that the product or service is valid for use. And again, come back to design and development planning. And the organization shall consider, when planning, during planning, the organization shall consider also responsibilities and authorities involved. Who is responsible for what? For each activity inside the organization or inside the process of design and development, you shall define a specific person who can do this job. So he is responsible to do this job and who is authorized after him to do another job. So there will be no confusion. And internal and external resources required. This is very important. All resources required to achieve the objectives shall be provided. So all resources required to achieve the objectives shall be provided, and as mentioned in clause 711, organization shall define internal resources. What are the internal resources? What you have now, and also what needs to be obtained from external resources. And very important point, the organization shall control interfaces between persons involved in the process of design and development. They shall have some organization in the work, who will start the work and he will send to whom, and who will approve this work at the end. So very important to define the responsibilities and authorities for each person inside the organization, and also communication between all of them. And there is a need also to involve the customers and users in the process of design and development. Customer is very important because requirement at the beginning, requirement of the customer relating to his product or service shall be defined well. And during the process, if there is any change in any stage of the process, also shall be sent to the customer, and he shall accept before processing this change, and you shall convince him by this change if it's very important, because at the end the customer shall accept the product or service. All the outputs shall be fit, as I said before, shall meet the requirements of the customer, shall be fit for his requirements, and also users. You can also involve the users, but you can make survey as example. Survey to ask the people who will use this product, what do you need from this product? Also controls expected for this process design and development by the customers, and also other relevant interested parts such as government or any expected law related to this process for any chemical used or product used during this process also shall be kept in your plan. the level of control expected for the design and development process by customers and other relevant interested parties shall be kept in the plan. And the documented information, you shall retain all documented information relating to design and development process needed to demonstrate that design and development requirements have been met. So for this clause, you shall prepare some documented information such as procedure for design and development, specific procedure including all points that I have explained, and the project task. For each project also we will prepare a specific task, a list of tasks, and also with the responsibilities and the authorities, with tracking of the response and closure to ensure that the process is completed. And inside this task you will have also to define all responsibilities and authorities, and the communication between the persons involved in the process of design and development. Project plan, and there is also for each project a specific plan, what you will do for this, and this plan, as I said before, will be different from project to another project based on the complexity or nature or duration of the project, and the reviews, and what are the controls and reviews will be followed during that project to ensure that each step will be completed, verified, and validated. Also design review records and also procedure, and that will be also mentioned after that in another clause. Procedure for purchasing and evaluation of suppliers for all resources required, and procedure for production and service provision. That was the end of our lecture. Thank you, and see you in the next lecture.